Is David Darnell. We're sort of pre-recording this about an hour early, approximately, because time conflict for streaming it live. So thank you for your patience with this, but we're making sure we come to you with the latest and greatest anyway. And it just hit the news wires here. The first story, a quick mention, is that it looks like Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, is planning to announce a 2024 presidential campaign in a Twitter conversation with Elon Musk.
Twitter Spaces.
Yes.
Twitter Space. Yeah.
Twitter Spaces. And it's really interesting because DeSantis, of course, I think they've been talking about the fact that he was going to announce soon for quite some weeks. He had to get everything lined up, and I guess he had to get a bill passed in Florida and stuff so that he wouldn't have to step down. But he's going to do an audio conversation with Elon Musk. And Elon Musk, once again, super smart business guy, is bringing something to the table for Twitter, which, if it were up to the people who ran Twitter before, it would probably not have happened, to say the least. Probably been banned.
No. You know, it's funny because I think it was Rob Harris. Is he the Independent Party guy?
If I remember. I don't know.
Yeah, he is. Him and I used to go around and around on Twitter until he blocked me. And when I was running the Oregon Republican Party Twitter account, he used to go around and around with me with the Independent Party Twitter account. But I in passing, I saw, maybe he didn't block me personally, but apparently not, because I saw one of his tweets which indicated that he thought that Elon Musk was not a very good businessman and that Twitter was going to go down the tubes. And since that has happened, Trump, he will return to Twitter. Tucker Carlson is now going to be broadcasting from Twitter. And Elon Musk himself will be hosting probably if not a front runner, well, he's a front runner for the 2024 Republican nomination, Ron DeSantis. So, yeah, I think, Rob, if you're listening, Rob, and I know you're not, I think Musk knows what he's doing, and I think Twitter will be just fine.
I think that not only that, but, you know, when you make it really interesting by allowing free speech, it's going to be the most interesting place to be. The next step,
it was
at one time.
It was the most interesting place to be from at least 2009 when I joined Twitter to 2012, which I don't know, there was just a wet blanket thrown over right wing or conservative Twitter at that point in time. I don't know that it was anything in the algos, but we lost, with Mitt Romney. No surprise there, I guess, and everything just kind of died, and people just weren't as much into Twitter as they were before. But yeah, it was an interesting place, and it certainly promises to be a more interesting place. And you know, Elon Musk, who's one of the highest profile people on the face of the earth, will be having, I think, after June 1st, the most high profile living person today, Donald Trump. Another probably one of the most highest profile news or commentary or talking head personalities, Tucker Carlson. I think he's got some great ideas.
Yeah, he does, and he understands what the business that he's in is better than the people who once owned the company. That's the definition of a smart transaction, where, the value of the company is depressed at the moment. But I think he's trying things. He's actually doing things that they just didn't do for the longest time. And, people that believe in devout socialism, I think, aren't good at running companies. He'll pump it.
He'll pump it up to better than it was before. It'll become the place to go. And of course, the business he's in is MDAUs, monetizable daily active users. So if you don't have a reason to open up your Twitter app, he doesn't make any money. But he'll pump this thing up to where it's humming again. and then he'll take it public, at which point he'll once again become the richest man in the world.
Well, and
and
you know
then
what Democrats are worried about? They're worried about that he might become the most powerful man in the world, at least in terms of media. And it'll only be because of their stupidity that they allowed it to happen by not allowing the platform to be free. They apparently didn't think their messages could compete, and they considered
Yeah.
having people that were interesting in the opposition too dangerous to be heard. That's all broken down now, and I don't know when YouTube, because they still seem to like to censor people. They, of course, have blocked us from time to time. And when they're going to wise up, I don't know. Maybe this is what competition looks like. Some people stay super woke and super progressive, and then eventually someone else, beats them at that game. And good. That's why we have capitalism, why we have free markets, because free markets allow you to engage in a form of freedom that actually makes it possible to fulfill the wishes and the aspirations that you have. In other words, you don't just talk about it; you do something about it. That's capitalism, and a free market. And so this is what he's doing. And if they don't like it, then they can go ahead and figure out how to make one of the companies they still apparently control better.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's lots of people, that claim that they're no longer going to use Twitter. I've seen lots of claims by people saying I'm leaving Twitter because of Elon Musk, and I bookmark them and I go back and I look. Well, their account's still there. And then the newest thing is for a high-profile account. So what was it? NPR said that we won't be using Twitter. They're keeping their account, but we won't be using Twitter. Another
people won't be using NPR then, which just weakens the argument for continuing to get money for us to pay them to essentially promote outright falsehoods. Because they get public money to do that, which is just insane. It's insane.
It is insane. It is insane. There's nothing balanced about that.
Well, speaking of about nothing balanced about that, we are in what day? I've lost track of
14.
14, yeah, I think, of the state Senate GOP walkout, and now the media is starting to mumble about how this might sink the whole session. You think? Look, they decided to make it tougher to walk out, and then they presented a scenario where they gave us more than enough reason to say, whatever the penalty, it's worth it to stop this from happening. And so that's what the story talks about in the Bend Bulletin, is that they're starting to worry. It was an ill-conceived measure, which may not, by the way, still stand up to some sort of court scrutiny, but we'll see. Even if it does, so be it. There's other people that can run for and win these seats, especially since the seats in the Senate are overwhelmingly winnable by a Republican. So, so until they outlaw the Republican Party or anybody who's conservative from running, which they'll try at some point, but
they are trying. They're passing laws that are kind of skirting, walking around the outside of the issue, trying to close in and make sure that only Democrats, only wokesters, only lefties, only commies can run for office in Oregon. Yeah, you're right. They'll try it.
But the Democrats have put their entire agenda at stake. There's been very few bills that have actually reached the governor's desk. And it looks like, unless they've actually managed to pass both houses, they won't. They prioritized two bills that were so extreme and violated the law and the Constitution and how they were written, that they've decided that all the things they say really matters, that we should be there to do, like pass a budget, that might not happen. And there's no incentive as each day passes and the so-called penalty is applied to senators to return. And so now Kotek, who could have been a real leader instead of a complete partisan hack job, which he is, has decided to start having closed door meetings between Republicans and Democrats. In other words, they're actually talking and negotiating. And here's what Kotek said after walking out from these closed door meetings yesterday. She said the Senate Republicans were, quote, disrespectful, unquote. And all I can say to that is right below this screen, I have a certain finger, and I am showing that finger below the screen level because that's what they did every single day of the session from the get-go. And if you watch any of the footage, you see what they act like. They act like arrogant a-holes that to the Republicans the entire session, and they kept shoving things through committee after committee, figuring, you know what, they'll just sit there and take it. We've got them beat. Phooey.
Yeah. Well, Kotek's office is legendary in the Marble Building. People that I know that are in the legislature say that they've seen people come out of there crying when she was speaker.
Yeah.
She's legendarily disrespectful.
Yeah.
I mean, she's just transactional. There's no other way to describe her. She's just all business and transactional. She's got an agenda and she's going to move it forward no matter what. And she doesn't care about, what constituents think, and the arrogance, of course, in the Democratic Party of Oregon, with a D+10 registration advantage is that no matter what they do, they'll get reelected.
That's what they figure. Yeah. Well, this is the consequences of that. It's really interesting because as you read the details of this, just one senator actually turned up in person, while all the other Republican senators showed up to this closed door meeting with Kotek via Zoom, which is hilarious because, of course, this is something the Democrats absolutely loved and wanted to continue doing forever.
Right.
And that choice apparently clearly rankled Kotek. She's like, "That's so disrespectful."
I'm the governor. When I call you into my office, you come into my office.
Yeah, you'll get a real finger wagging from Rod Wagner.
Yeah, and she must be real fun at parties.
Oh, and apparently at some point applause rang out from inside of the room, but then that's when the applause was dashed by the Zoom attendants. So apparently 10 senators are now technically, according to if this Measure 113 applies, 10 senators are now ineligible to serve another term. And so those are 10 senators that have absolutely zero reason to do a damn thing to help Tina Kotek for the rest of the session.
I wouldn't come back.
Yeah. Just not, and all the bills that they've got lined up that they refuse to concede on.
Sine die, baby. Sine die. You can call a special session if you need to pass a budget, and I'm sure she will.
And these same people will still have no incentive to show up and give them quorum.
To provide quorum, yeah.
Well, it was Kotek's people who came up with this Measure 113 idea, and they wanted to preserve the ability to walk out for themselves. But you know what? If the situation reversed, the only thing that would be different about it, because the Democrats would still walk out, but the media would be on their side saying, well, they have good reasons to do this.
Yeah, they're brave and courageous.
Yeah, that's right. It's historic. It's historic. You know how many times they talk about something that's like that they
risking their political careers. They are
outrageous.
We should erect statues on the grounds of the Capitol in their honor, which they really should do with the Republican senators who, as you pointed out, have absolutely no reason to return to the building, except maybe to clean out their desk after sine die.
So Daniel Bonham said, she has burned me one too many times. I'm not going to let the governor have the potential to change her mind on utilizing the state troopers or whatever to pull us back into the building. In other words, they can, that was always the threat, going and grabbing them and shoving them back into the building by force. And Bonham noted that the timing of the meeting shortly after 11 a.m. would have put the senators in the Capitol building around the same time as the Senate floor session.
Imagine that.
The proximity of those two events necessitated an abundance of caution, which
Zoom. It necessitated Zoom.
Yeah. Yes, and Tina Kotek called it disrespectful.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, there'll be a bill next session. Just you wait, Kevin. That'll allow attendance electronically.
yeah, no, that's right, and it'll count and all that kind of stuff. And so, um, and it's these bills that they've got, the 2002 and 2005, but it's actually the whole damn thing. Those are the worst ones. Those
Yeah,
are the
they are.
ones that just absolutely make you want to turbo vomit. You
Yeah.
know, they've got ones that they're supposed to give felons still in prison the right to vote from prison. What could go wrong with that? Uh, Gangs and state employees present. Anyway, there's a whole bunch of other bills that really just start to undermine the ability to deal with the homelessness crisis, which is it's a meth and fentanyl crisis that they have
It's a drug.
precipitated.
Yeah, it's a drug addiction crisis. It's got nothing to do with homelessness. Those people couldn't stay in a home if you gave them one.
Yeah, but you get to spend a lot of money doing that, so it's always
Well,
doesn't.
yeah. The more people out there living on the streets doing drugs all day, the more money the NGOs are able to harvest for helping them.
Yep.
And the more money they're able to harvest, the more money they're able to kick back in campaign contributions through one or more methods to Democrats who give them the money in the first place.
Well, that is exactly where this is heading. And the Democrats who said they need to fix the public defender crisis might not get around to it because they prioritize this other crap. Even though I think they are causing the public defender crisis or the indigent defense crisis with a state flooded with indigents. But that's just me. I don't know. With a crime wave that seems to have taken place.
We know that the drug cartels are doing well in Oregon.
They're doing well. In fact, they own a lot of these Democrats, even though they just lost a big one.
Policy is usually the result of campaign contributions.
That is the perfect lead-in here to what's been a rapidly developing story here in the past 2 days. Apparently, election officials, the ones left behind after the departure of Shemia Fagan, are calling on the Attorney General to weigh felonies against the FTX exec who gave $100,000 to the Oregon Democrats. And that's fascinating because, of course, that's on the heels of some other things that this guy donated $500,000, but the Democratic Party of Oregon accepted $500,000 and reported a false name.
Fraudulently reported it. Yeah, apparently there's no criminal consequences for that.
Yeah, which
Democrat Oregon,
and that is courtesy of some people that maybe themselves should be thoroughly investigated, which are the people put into place by Shemia Fagan, such as the former communications director for the Democrat Party of Oregon in charge of investigating the current Democrat Party of Oregon. They created this whole sweetheart deal, which has been called out by none other than the Oregonian. The Oregonian editorial board pointed out that the self-enrichment scheme that she had going on tainted not only her reputation, but that of the office she was elected to serve. Unfortunately, those leading the office since her resignation are giving Oregonians new reasons to question the agency's credibility. The acting Secretary of State slashed a proposed fine against the Democratic Party of Oregon for misreporting the $500,000 donation, which they have not had to give back. So essentially, they get to keep a fraudulently reported donation from a person who himself might be facing jail time on the federal level. And it was the largest single donation ever to the DPO.
Right.
And despite the seriousness of this, she cut the proposed $35,000 fine, which is a pittance when it's compared to $500K, to just $15,000. $500,000 fine became a $15,000 fine when they clearly intentionally defrauded the public and gamed the campaign finance system, so no one could find out until it was too late to affect the election who donated it. And And so this one is a super duper stinker. And even
they kept the money too, didn't they?
They kept the money. They kept the money so that they could afford this, tiny, relatively tiny fine. And they're claiming that the whole thing was handed off to a neutral party, that it doesn't have anything to do with Fagin. There's no politics here. It's just like, in Casablanca, where they walk in and say, there's no gambling here. I don't see any gambling. This is just as absurd. And this is how you cheat in elections. This is how you do what the Democrats constantly claim others do. And actually, that's how you know they're doing it. Steal elections. That's how you do it. $500,000 is enough to affect outcomes of elections.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Especially in a very hotly contested year. And most Democrats, Rosenblum, who's recused herself included, received money from the DPO.
Yep. In fact, as soon as the elections officials asked the DOJ to consider charges against that guy, Ellen Rosenblum recused herself of the criminal investigation. And there you go. Is the fish rotten all the way to the head? Yeah.
I would say.
Oh, and the newspapers are so good that she recused herself. At least someone has ethics. Where was she catching this stuff and prosecuting it in the first place? Nowhere.
Right. And everyone in her employ, I'm sure, is on the same side. So.
Well, and so is most of the media, if not all. And this is when you need an attorney general who's actually kind of above the fray, is not a hyper-partisan wing girl for the previous governor, or somebody who can be trusted to deliver equal justice under the law. Instead, she spent nearly her entire tenure as attorney general thwarting accurate ballot titles, which led to things like Measure 110 passing and Measure 114. Yeah. She's also the one who spends almost all of her time virtue signaling about issues that actually have no, like on abortion, joining like friend of the court briefs and stuff like that, where they sign on to, or climate stuff, where they're trying to ban natural gas stoves. She's out doing this wildly unpopular stuff that actually doesn't have anything to do with Oregon. This is all she does all day long. And then when you really need somebody who you can count on, she recuses herself. And by the way, you know what she has the power to do? All that stuff that's not getting prosecuted in Multnomah County, that the Soros prosecutor Mike Schmidt won't do anything about. She could actually assign attorneys to those cases and prosecute them. She could save the situation in Multnomah County, but she's worse than Schmidt himself.
Yeah, she's totally a partisan applier of law. And we same thing in the Oregon Supreme Court. Not you could bypass the executive branch and everybody elected in it and fare no better in the judicial branch within the state of Oregon, unfortunately.
Yeah, 4 decades of people playing that game, which is supposed to be an exception. They resign before the end of the term. A new person gets appointed by the governor. That person runs as incumbent. They win 80% of the time. Rinse, repeat. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's what's happening with this scandal in Oregon. Now, there's one story I'm just going to bring forward here because I think it fits with this. When you hear all this stuff going on here in Oregon, one thing occurs to you. No wonder there's yet another county that is voting to, along with the 11 that have already done this, to merge with Idaho. They want a divorce from the state. You look how the Democrats conduct themselves corruptly. They authoritarian, extreme. They basically treat the people from the rest of the state like they're just vassal states that have been, controlled by an empire out of Portland.
Yeah.
And then lo and behold, actually, they want a divorce. They want out. This is there's the measure passed in Wallowa County, and there was actually a battle there between the forces that are in favor of it and the forces against it. And I still kind of think it sounds better as a protest movement than it does as an actual occurrence. That's just been my evaluation so far. But I think it's gaining momentum because if the Democrats don't like having people deprive them of quorum, then stop treating them like crap. And if you're not going to do that, if you're going to double down and make it even worse, maybe there will be the irreconcilable differences will result in a mutual agreement to part ways. It's possible.
Well, I mean, the upside for Democrats in Oregon, and I don't think I don't think the thing will ever happen because I don't think the legislature would ever approve it. But the upside would be is they get rid of most of the Republican voters. And they could have a super majority hyper leftists. I mean, they could ram this thing into the ground with millions of tons of force, and the rest of the country could watch. And go, hey,
literally launch, the first Marxist state of America.
Yeah.
And tax the hell out of everybody. By the way, I just saw the other day that the tax revenues are well above what they expected. And it's because apparently there's, in 2021, there were a lot of people that moved into higher tax brackets and did pretty well. I don't know if that's going to turn out to be the case going forward, because a lot of that's probably off of, COVID dollars or stocks that have gone down a great deal as interest rates have gone up.
ERC, employee retention credits. That's I'll be in the top tax bracket with that this year. So,
well, there's going to be a big sound though. It's people leaving the state for other states.
Yeah.
And so what people are still making that money are going to say, you know what, I actually could do this from anywhere, or I could just say the hell with you guys and let the first Marxist state of America just sink into the Pacific Ocean, taxing itself to oblivion.
Yeah.
And there's history around this. It's been done before. But by the way, in Wallowa County, the measure, what was it called? Measure 32-007. 1,721 people voted for it, 1,700 against it. So
really,
as of the publishing of this story, it was only 21 votes. And that's where the overall voter turnout was only 23%. So now this county actually had the highest voter turnout in the state of 55%.
Right.
Interesting.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, it's and the proponents for the measure actually said, "Are you tired of living in the state of Portland?" I think that's actually a very simple and accurate statement.
Yes, it is. It is very accurate. That North Willamette Valley controls the entire state.
Well, shifting gears, we got some stuff that might be flying under the radar at the national level. It turns out that, and it's going to affect Oregon big time, among other states. President Brandon has decided, and in his administration or whoever's running him, has decided to end what they call familial DNA testing at the border, a key deterrent to fraud and child trafficking. It's how they catch, multiple recidivist criminals coming in that have been deported, or gang members. And then, of course, the familial testing is how they've been child trafficking, especially child sex trafficking into the country.
Yeah.
And so the Brandon administration has decided to end that, which is utterly sick and twisted, because these same groups that are trafficking the fentanyl and P2P meth, the so-called super meth, into the country, those groups are the ones running the child trafficking rings.
Yeah, the drug cartels.
Be a different department, but it's the same group.
Yeah. Well, policy follows campaign contributions.
Isn't that true? And so both at the state and national level, the Customs Border Patrol has identified numerous family fraud attempts by illegals over the years. In 2022, the GAO, Government Accountability Office, found that as many as 1 in 10 children tested turned out not to be related to the illegal aliens who were crossing with them. Other reports have found as many as 30% of suspected migrant fraud families shared no familiar relation whatsoever. And no sooner had that story been published than it was pointed out how this will embolden child exploitation, which, as we know, is exactly what they were trying to do with House Bill 2002 here in Oregon, the one that would actually make it so that you couldn't find out who was raping children, and made it so that you could dispose of the aborted fetus's body without any records. You pointed out, others have pointed out, that is the Sex Trafficker Assistance Act.
It is. And I think if someone did some digging, I think you would find, some campaign cash. Well, we've already seen it with Fagan, perhaps. Not Fagan, but what's her name?
Kotek?
No, I guess Fagan is what I meant to say. Yeah. I don't know why I get those two names mixed up, but I do. I guess because they're both far left Democrats. But I think if you did some digging, I think you'd find probably some organized crime money in politics in Oregon.
Yeah,
probably. So you look at the policy. You look at the policy, sanctuary state. So an illegal alien goes to court, they know they won't be deported. You can, the death of a child is no longer, has been decriminalized. Young girls can get abortions without their parents or anybody knowing. It's on and on and on. Measure 110, drugs are legal to have and use, but still illegal to manufacture and distribute. Those are all just tailor-made for organized crime.
Yeah. And so that's what's happening is we're being turned into a child trafficking narco state, in addition to a Marxist state, which all kind of goes hand in hand. And at the national level, our completely mentally debilitated president is implementing policy after policy that's like literally almost impossible to explain logically, unless you assume that they want this stuff to happen because they know what this will do.
Yeah. Well, they know what it'll do because the people who wrote them the checks or handed them the bags of cash told them what it'll do.
And all the NGOs that are doing their dirty work and getting it sprinkled in there, doing some form of equity of one form or another.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, in addition to that, there's another national news story that's kind of hitting that makes my head just explode. So Target is holding an emergency meeting. Target Corporation, the department store, holding an emergency meeting because of the store's LGBT merchandise, including something called a tuck-friendly swimsuit. And they're worried that they're going to get Bud Lighted. And they're really terrified.
Yeah, they should be. They should be worried about that. They should be calling an emergency meeting because they shouldn't be doing that crap in the first place.
Yeah.
And let me guess, they're in kids' sizes.
Yeah, they're actually
right.
Some Target stores actually feature massive pride displays with items such as children's and baby clothing, kids' books, and dog toys. I don't even want to know what the dog toys look like, but controversial merchandise includes tuck-friendly bathing suits for transgender adults to hide biological anatomy. I never thought that would be the purpose of a bathing suit, but okay. The pride sections, many locations, mostly those in the rural South, have relocated pride sections to prevent a backlash such as those being experienced by Bud Light. They were given 36 hours and told to take all of their pride stuff, the entire section, and move it to a section that's a third of the size. But it's still there. And they apparently, from the front of the store where they were very proud of it. So some merchandising person thought this would be awesome, and then along came Dylan Mulvaney, and now you can't have anything on mannequins, no large signage, nothing. And I think that it is kind of something that would make people not want to go and buy any clothing there at all. That's what it sounds
yeah,
like.
a lot of people. I mean, when they start peddling it to kids, that's that's the line right there. Kids don't need to have kids don't need to know anything about sex. Little kids don't need to know about that.
And they don't need to be told that the best thing for them is to tuck their genitalia away inside a special bathing suit. No. But
No,
you know what? This isn't the only corporation that's doing this. Apparently, a leaked policy is exposing Fox News's new stances on woke ideology. Have you heard about this?
No.
Yeah. So they are now kind of canceling and also preventing people who were guests from coming on to and emphasizing the need for guests that reflect more transgenderism, like Dylan Mulvaney, Leah Thomas. They're telling Fox Digital that they have to use activist language like gender affirming care, which we know is what's being used to package genital mutilation by people for children without parental
mutilation
consent.
for money. That's what it is.
Yep.
None of that stuff's free.
Right. And of course they had a segment that they put on that was praising a child's gender transition as an inspiration to others. And that was back in June of 2022. But it turns out that this is all a corporate plan, the same corporation that got rid of Tucker Carlson. And one of the contributing factors they're pointing out here to Carlson's departure is who's the guy that I'm forgetting his name right now that did What is a Woman, the documentary. That's a guy who had been on Fox News many times in the past. Suddenly his videos started disappearing from the Fox News site. And then turns out that this is a guy, there's one guy who would have him on repeatedly. And it was the most widely watched guy in cable news, period. And that was Tucker Carlson. Wow. I don't know why I'm forgetting his name right now, but it is, Matt Walsh. So, because Tucker Carlson constantly had to fight with management to be permitted to have Matt Walsh on to talk about trans issues. And obviously he is very effective. If you've seen his movie, he gets the point across.
Well, if Fox or any other television station wanted to correctly right-size the representation of the trans community in their broadcasting, they would have somebody who is either trans or a trans maniac on about once every 6 years for 10 minutes.
Yes, exactly.
Well, if they wanted to right size representation of certain different skin colors, I mean, it's you can't over-represent and not appear as though you are pandering, and the fact that you need to represent certain subgroups of people based on skin color or sexual orientation, or in the case of the trans people, delusional people, is just a ridiculous concept in a country like America. I can't believe that's. I mean, it appears to me, Kevin, that's all that matters anymore.
Yeah, it's like a religious fervor that's just being infused into these secular entities. And they're not only doing that, but by the way, Tucker Carlson, one other piece of news is that apparently some insider revealed via the, what's his name? The media group of the guy that used to be O'Keefe. The O'Keefe Media Group goes by the acronym OMG, which I thought was great.
Yeah.
This insider revealed that part of the reason why Tucker was fired was a unwritten handshake with the Dominion company in that settlement. That was, they wanted a scalp, and Fox News Corp agreed to it. The insider that talked about this on camera said, we got money from Pfizer. And Tucker brought up things that cost a lot of money when Pfizer didn't want to sponsor their show. So I don't know. Fox News is in deep trouble. I like some of the personalities on there a great deal, but it's beginning to be too toxic for me to watch on any regular basis. And because I know the people that I do like are going to say something and get canceled just like Tucker. So that's almost certain to happen.
Right.
But the left isn't done because the minute you say something against this new religion, they go after you. And so there's in the United Kingdom, there's a teacher who apparently misgendered a student and was put in front of a panel. And his name is Joshua Sutcliffe. He's Christian. He's teaching in England. He accidentally misgendered a student and was honest.
By misgendering, you mean he referred to the student as their gender?
Yes, exactly. Okay. Except that it's not the gender that the misgendered person wanted to be gendered as, which you know.
So the student is delusional.
Yes,
and the teacher failed to support that delusion. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Also, this teacher apparently has been honest about his thoughts on gay marriage, which he's Christian. He happens to disagree with it. Okay. And the penalty for accidentally marrying somebody and having your own opinion on gay marriage is it's the end of your career. And so they've decided to ban him for life from teaching.
Wow.
And he's 33 years old. They said that he failed to treat a student with dignity and respect, a biologically female student who identified as male. And the incident occurred when he praised a group of students with the phrase, "Well done, girls." He said it, and it was accidental, and he immediately apologized, but it's an unforgivable sin.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
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 And,
well, there we are.
It's a religion with unforgivable sins.
Yeah. Oh, it is. Yeah. Yeah. It is. Yeah. You cannot be redeemed. You need to be burnt at the stake, and, killing someone's career is burning them at the stake. And sadly, there's not too many places to go. I suppose there's some places in America where he could still teach, but there's a lot of places in America where he would be seen the same way. My God.
Yeah, and he actually showed the panel criticized this guy and sided with the student, apparently, when this guy at some point showed a PragerU video titled "Make Men Masculine Again," and didn't consider the fact that some people may not agree with the claims of masculinity portrayed in the video. Now he's actually a math teacher too, and so they're getting rid of him because he's Christian, but he teaches math. I just think this is where this is going. You'll be canceled and destroyed, and they're going to keep doing this to everybody that deals with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm surprised we haven't been targeted for our unorthodox, heretical views in the eyes of the church members.
Yeah, the great Church of Wokeness is out to send people to hell, and it's to woke hell, which is you're debanked, you're stripped of your profession, you are not allowed to buy things you want in a store,
right?
And of course, you also must sit idly by, and let them say and do whatever they want to your children. That's your job.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not going to happen with a lot of parents.
No. No, and I think that we're gonna. It's got to manifest itself in some elections here in the not too distant future, but it's becoming
Yeah,
apparent.
well, I think it has. I think we saw it locally with many of the school boards. I know one of the news organizations, I think, pointed out that well, maybe I forget exactly how that story ended up, but I was just looking at results at many of the school boards that I was watching, and many of them did very well in the anti-woke department.
Yeah, I think that for me, at least the races that I was exposed to, I can only think of one in Springfield, Oregon, and then the rest were kind of status quo elections in many places. But you might have seen some others where, but there were close elections too, like in Hillsborough, and it means don't give up, keep fighting the good fight. But at the same time, I think some people are gonna just continue pulling their kids out of these schools, looking for alternatives. It's a price too high for a lot of parents, even if it's costly to send kids to a private school or inconvenient to engage in homeschooling. They're just going to have to do it, or you're feeding your kids to
Yeah.
the woke machine.
Oh God, yeah, the beast, yeah, and they devour them, and it costs them their lives in some instances.
It does. It does. Well, I think we presented a full spectrum of the news here today, and
We
hopefully
did.
everyone. Yep, we did, and I hope everyone gets a chance uh, to watch all of this, as well as please take a chance, especially if you're involved in Oregon Republican politics, to watch last night's episode of the Captive Audience, where David hosted a former state Republican chair, Bill Currier, discussing a myriad of topics, including what's going on with the National Committee man Solomon Yu.
Yeah,
There's a lot to know. We have to actually. There's a lot of battles on a lot of different fronts taking place right now, and you need to be informed. We'll keep doing that. We'll keep keeping you informed and going there, even if somebody says you can't do that, you can't say that. Not going to comply.
you can't
Sorry.
listen to that. You can't listen to them. They're
Yeah.
bad. They're evil. Some people are actually saying that, Kevin.
I know. Oh well.
It's the world in which we live. Nothing surprises me anymore. Okay, whatever.
I think that giving up on saying what you really think, that's the one way you can hand them the biggest reward of all, and we're just not going to stop. So
Yeah.
we're keeping at it. Well, thanks for joining me here tonight, David.
Thank you, Kevin. Fun.
And please, everyone, share the show with everyone you can. We're trying to get it up on Rumble now as well, and YouTube, as long as they let us. But you'll be able to count on seeing our shows on Rumble. Just take some extra work for right now, but it should be easy to share with anybody on or off social media.
Right.
And we'll keep up the good fight. And we'll see you tomorrow night, another episode of the Captive Audience. You should have Sunny and Don back, and another 1,000 days of news compressed into one day. So there we go. Have a good one, everyone. Good night.
Good night.